It is a warm 4th of July weekend in 2025, and the Nevada State Railroad Museum is hosting the Star Spangled Steam Up event. 3 historic locomotives are under steam here in Carson City, Nevada, including a very special guest engine. America's 2 oldest operating narrow-gauge locomotives, the Tahoe and the Glenbrook, were reunited to operate together for the first time since the 1890s. Tahoe is visiting from Nevada City, California, while Glenbrook calls Carson City home. The 2 engines, nicknamed the Tahoe Twins, were built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1875 for the Lake Tahoe Narrow Gauge Railroad, which was owned by D.L. Bliss and operated by his Carson and Tahoe Lumber and Fluming Company. The Glenbrook and Tahoe, which were later numbered 1 and 2, hauled logs along the nearly 9-mile line overlooking Lake Tahoe until 1899. At this time, the Tahoe went on to serve the Nevada County Narrow Gauge Railroad in California. It was soon converted from wood to oil firing, given the number 5, and over time became heavily modernized, as is apparent today. Glenbrook was put to work on the Lake Tahoe Railway between Truckee and Tahoe City, California, and ran until that route was standard gauge in 1926. In 1937, the Tahoe Twins were briefly reunited again when Glenbrook was bought by the NCNG as an intended parts source for her sister number 5. However, Glenbrook remained intact. As the NCNG faded into abandonment, both engines were saved from scrap. Tahoe had a third career in the movie industry at Universal Studios and starred in numerous film productions before being sent to the Nevada County Narrow Gauge Museum in 1985 for display. Tahoe was returned to steam in 2022, and today it regularly operates for the public in Nevada City. Videos of this engine being loaded onto a truck to attend the Star Spangled Steam Up can be found elsewhere on this channel. Glenbrook was saved by the Nevada State Museum through the efforts of D.L. Bliss's family. After years of display and a lengthy restoration, the engine returned to steam in 2015. Glenbrook is one of very few operating steam engines in America that is authentically restored to its original 19th century appearance. As built, it had a Russian iron boiler jacket, engineer's side crosshead pump, fireman's side injector, and was adorned in Baldwin's Wine Style 1 paint scheme. The third engine operating today is Virginia and Truckee No. 25, a 1905 Baldwin 460 built for passenger service between Reno and Virginia City. No. 25 is also a movie star, being sold to MGM in 1947. Now at the NSRM, No. 25 is operated during special events throughout the year. We begin our visit at the NSRM's shop complex, where Tahoe, 25, and Glenbrook simmer under the morning sunlight. First, engine number 5 leaves the engine facilities to couple to the narrow gauge train consist. Tahoe briefly pauses after backing off the turntable, allowing us to capture both the Tahoe Twins in the same frame. Once the Tahoe is coupled up, the train sets off for the former Southern Pacific Wabuska Depot. With the narrow gauge train ready to go, the NSRM crew readies the standard gauge train. Number 25 follows the Tahoe out of the engine facilities. After running around to the back of the shop, number 25 pulls the standard gauge consist out of the building. At the Wabuska Depot, the Tahoe is ready to haul the first trains of the day. In the scenes that follow, we will enjoy a cab ride aboard number 5, as well as views from the replica of NCNG Caboose number 1, which is also visiting from Nevada City.
Okay, I'm off. Get iron! Yeah, let's roll.
We disembark the train upon returning to the Wabuska Depot. Next, we'll experience some trackside views of Tahoe leading the 3 cars around the museum's loop. Once Virginia and Truckee 25's train is ready, the narrow and standard gauge trains will alternate between runs. We will enjoy more footage of number 25 operating around the museum later in this video. As noon draws nigh, we find Glenbrook patiently waiting by the woodpile at the engine facilities. As the crew loads the tender with fuel, Glenbrook will set out to swap out for Tahoe so it can lead the afternoon narrow gauge trains. Down at the switchback by the place known as the Swamp, the Tahoe disconnects from its consist and pulls aside. Then we see Glenbrook approaching from the distance. The engine will roll behind Tahoe to couple to the 3-car train. Once the Glenbrook is coupled up, Tahoe backs in front of Glenbrook and switches onto the track for the engine facility before setting off. With Tahoe on its way, Glenbrook makes its way to the Wabuska depot. While the train crews take their lunch break, we get to take a look inside the NSRM's museum building and shop. Numerous scale models, many depicting Virginia and Truckee locomotives, are on display inside, as well as some more full-size railroad equipment. Virginia and Truckee number 21, the J.W. Bowker, is another 150-year-old Baldwin product. After serving the V&T until 1896, Bowker was sold to the Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company north of Lake Tahoe. This engine is iconic for having a Knowles fire pump mounted atop its boiler, used in firefighting service. Bowker is beautifully restored to a historical appearance and is on loan from the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento, California. V&T No. 12, the Genoa, is a Baldwin 440 built in 1872 for passenger service. After retirement, the Genoa passed through the hands of several private owners before going to the California State Railroad Museum in 1969. Before the replica of Central Pacific's Jupiter was built, Genoa was used as a stand-in for the engine at various events across the country, including the legendary Chicago Railroad Fair in 1949. Along with Bowker, the Genoa is also on loan from the CSRM. There are many pieces of equipment in the museum's shop building as well. Behind this handcar, we see V&T No. 22, the Inyo. Inyo is yet another 1875 Baldwin engine, and served the V&T through the 1930s. Like NCNG No. 5 and V&T No. 25, it was also used in the movie industry, and made several appearances on the big screen. At the time of this video, Inyo was undergoing a major rebuild and boiler replacement. If you would like to see footage of the Inyo operating in 2022, check out my Great Western Steam Up video, which can be found on this YouTube channel. Here is the V&T's iconic McKean motor car, also number 22. This car was built in 1910, and after retirement, was used as a diner and an office. This car was donated to the NSRM in 1996, and returned to its full operating glory in 2010. The museum also has the Joe Douglas, an 1882 Porter 042T, built for the Dayton, Sutro, and Carson Valley Railroad. It was later used in the construction of the Lake Arrowhead Dam in San Bernardino, California, and after years of outdoor storage and private ownership, the engine came to the NSRM in 1994. After lunch, we head back to the Wabuska Depot to watch Glenbrook's train depart. Then we'll follow it around the museum loop. Virginia and Truckee number 25 leaves Wabuska with the standard gauge train, making way for Glenbrook to back into the station. As number 25 comes around the curve again, we'll begin our trackside chase of the standard gauge train. On the evenings of July 4th and 5th, The Tahoe and Glenbrook locomotives led a special double-headed train in honor of them turning 150 years old. There was even a special birthday cake, complete with candles, and the Tahoe Twins were each fed a slice through their fireboxes. As the engines pull into the station, we witness history being made. This is the first opportunity these two locomotives have had to pull a train together since at least 1899. We hope you enjoy the following trackside views of these two engines at work. Late in the afternoon of the last day of the event, our video draws to a close as the Tahoe is put away. After a historic weekend filled with fun, it will be loaded onto a truck for the trip back to Nevada City the next day. We hope you have enjoyed our video of the Star Spangled Steam Up. If you did, please consider leaving a like, sharing this video with others, leaving a comment, and subscribing to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.